Several orders have been signed, many MOUs, orders worth millions of dollars, crores of rupees. And the key order that comes to mind, of course, is that HAL signed that deal with the Indian Air Force for the supply of 83 LCA Mark 1. Now, we caught up with the next generation of the LCA, with the project director of the LCA Mark 2, which is being developed by DRDO. We also spoke to HAL's chief designer for helicopters. Helicopters have been in focus in Aero India this year. At an Aero India show, we are more concerned about what the future of aerospace is going to be like. And we are beginning to see a bigger hand of indigenous planes and aircraft in this space. We already know that the LCA Mark 1 is already a part of the Indian Air Force. Now, what's the case with the Mark 2? We are very privileged to have with us the project director of LCA AF Mark 2, Dr. V. Madhusudana Rao. Thank you very much, sir. So, how is this a step up from Mark 1?
Yeah, Mark 2 is a consolidation of all proven technologies of Mark 1, that is Tejas. Over and above, they integrated advanced electronic warfare suite, new sensors, and improved the range and performance of the aircraft. And full gamut of indigenous weapons have been integrated, planning to integrate. Apart from that, Western and Russian weapons also being studied for integration on Mark 2.
So, how much of this is purely Indian? I mean, is it entirely Indian or?
It is, if you look at content point of it, engine is imported, and there are few systems which are coming from outside. So about 72 to 75% will be indigenous content. The remaining will be is a import content part of it.
What kind of weapons can be put on this Mark 2?
So it is designed to carry 6,500 kgs of weapon carrying, and it can carry a variety of indigenous weapons like Astra, Rudram, 1, 2, 3, and we have Nirbhay and BrahMos NG, and all bombs like Gautam, Garuda, all that weapons can be carried in this. In addition to that, the Western weapons like a Meteor and other weapons are there. I will not be in a position to detail those things.
Yes, yes.
So Russian and Western weapons can be integrated in this.
And what's the speed of this aircraft?
This is a 1.8 Mach is the speed we can attain.
And that will come into what generation of fighter aircraft?
This is a 4.5 plus generation.
4.5 plus.
Yeah, we can call it as a 5 minus, because it has got MAWS and it has got IRST and it has RWR antennas in a spherical coverage, not a donut coverage like 45 degrees or 90 degrees, and it gives a complete spherical protection to the aircraft from the enemy.
And talking about the enemy, how is it competing with the enemy?
So basically it has got a capability to carry 1800 kg hard points 3 are there in this aircraft. We have increased the length of the aircraft by 1.35 meters, which is enabling us to integrate all stand-off weapons. Stand-off weapons like a Scalp, and you have got Spice 2000. So like that is a heavy stand-off weapons can be integrated here, which will provide the range up to 580 to 600 kilometers. So that is the advantage of this, and it is a unique feature of this aircraft is in this class, it can carry 8 BVR missiles. So no aircraft in any country or any in the world available of that capability for air defense configuration.
And when are we looking at the completion of the project?
We are targeting to roll out this aircraft by next year August. Today we have completed PDRs of all the systems. There are 23 systems on these major systems. We have completed preliminary design, reviews are completed. Aircraft level review we have completed on March 2020, just before the Corona. Now we are marching towards CDRs of various systems, The aircraft level CDR, we are planning to have it in June, July of that kind. And we have already started tool design for some of the specific parts. Drawing design is already started for specific parts now. So shortly we will be starting the metal cutting. By this August or September, metal cutting may start for some of the parts.
Okay, and the parts will all be sourced, like now when the HAL is going to produce LCA Mark 1, it's going to create a whole ecosystem for private sector enterprise. Will this do the same? I mean,
it will do much more because the number of LRUs are more, the new LRUs are there where Indian industry can take up. It's a complete ab initio design, and advanced softwares like a multi-sensor data fusion and all other things have been integrated here, which are unique to this particular this one, because very few platforms are having that kind of features. So certainly we'll have a big jump in Indian industry to come forward and support this program.
Ultimately there would be trainers as well as combat aircraft.
No, it is a combat aircraft. Trainer will be Mark 1 will be configured to meet this trainer. And we see trainer development is another program by itself. The pilots, we are familiar with the Mark 1. Usually they will be converted into this Mark 2 cockpit familiarization. Keeping that in view, today we want to use Mark 1 trainer, configure the cockpit to provide a training of Mark 2 cockpit.
And what about the Navy? There's been a naval version of Mark 1. So is there going to be a naval version of this?
This is a TED-BF has been introduced. It's a twin-engine deck-based fighter, which is coming up right now. It is still on the drawing board. So that will be substituting the next version of naval requirement.
So how different is the cockpit from the Tejas Mark 1?
Yeah, there is a quantum jump in cockpit configuration. The Tejas is designed based on anthropometric data of 1987. But today Mark 2, we have used 2013 anthropometric data for designing of the cockpit. And it is not having a small display like whatever you have seen on Tejas. It is a single large display where the pilot can view the complete terrain maps and other things very easily to enable the full viewing of the large area display. The central stick which is there in Tejas has been converted that into a side stick so that the stick will be on the side.
Okay.
And we have a smart HUD is there, all smart HUD and other things. And we don't have all improvements possible in Mark 2 we have carried out to overcome observations on Tejas.
And what about the engine? How different is this engine? Is the Kaveri engine going to be used?
Our timelines are very stringent. Kaveri engine will not fit into our timeline. Hence we have gone ahead with GE 414. Tejas uses 404, but Mark 2 414. The 404 80 kilonewtons is the thrust, but this is a 98 kilonewtons thrust. So that is a kind of a variation.
Dr. Madhusudan Rao, what about the mission performance of this aircraft?
Coming to the mission performance, we have increased the fuel capacity from 2,400 to 3,378, which in turn gives you enhanced range. And we have aerodynamically shaped the aircraft for a better performance. And we have an enhanced thrust engine from 86 kilonewtons to 98 kilonewtons thrust engine is there. And we are integrated with full range of indigenous missiles, bombs and all weapons, apart from Western and Russian weapons. So this mission performance is much superior to or much par with any other aircraft in the world in this class.
Would you see that LCA will be flown by friendly countries?
Certainly. Today even Tejas itself, you might have seen in our opening inaugural ceremony, RM himself has told, there are few countries approached India for Tejas itself. And this is a much more loaded features compared to Tejas. Certainly we will be looking for big way exporting this aircraft to friendly countries.
So we are at Aero India, and we are privileged to have with us Mr. G. Shamnath, who's the Chief Designer of Helicopters, all helicopter projects at the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. Thanks very much, sir, for being with us. So the basic theme of the India Pavilion this time is on rotary wings. What is the emphasis on helicopters? Are we really, self-sufficient, Atmanirbhar in terms of helicopters?
As far as light helicopters are concerned, we are today self-reliant. Of course, self-reliant doesn't mean that 100% we can make everything in India, but there are several equipment, which, for example, which come from abroad. So to that extent, we are still dependent on others, but approximately 60 to 65% of the value addition happens in India. To that extent, we are self-reliant.
Okay.
Now, this helicopter, as we explained during the presentation, is a higher weight class. Like ALH is about 5.78 tons, whereas the IMRH is going to be 13 tons. So we are now taking up the next class of helicopters,
Right.
where currently we are 100% dependent on imports.
Okay.
Once this product comes, we will become self-reliant in this class of helicopters.
So these are basically not combat helicopters. You're talking mostly about the utility helicopters.
Basically, these are like cargo transport and troop transport helicopters, but they can have attack capability depending on what kind of weapons you integrate. So there are some essential set of weapons which the Air Force and Army wants us to integrate, which are already catered here. So the role can be changed. If you fit the weapons, it becomes capable of attack. But technically speaking, attack helicopter is designed purely for attack with higher speeds and higher maneuvering capability, etc. So in that sense, a heavy helicopter like this cannot be made into a pure attack helicopter, but it can do attack roles.
Right. So they can basically be utilized very well in terms of rescue missions, and I'm talking about outside the defense realm, and that also we can become self-reliant.
Casualty evacuation, medical emergencies, medical evacuation, all these standard roles it can do.
So when I look at helicopters as a layman, I mean, I can see that basically they can be used by all the wings of the armed forces. I mean, the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force.
Yes.
So this is one aircraft that actually fits the bill. In this sense, how does the design change for each of these services?
As far as Air Force and Army are concerned, the same design will be sufficient because their operations are more or less similar. But Navy is a different kettle of fish. The Navy, you have to design the helicopter specifically to suit the Navy's operational requirements. So there are, for example, there are requirements to fold the rotors of the helicopter, or sometimes even the tail boom, to reduce the size of the helicopter such a way that it can be parked inside a hangar inside the ship.
Okay.
Now, this type of specific requirements are not there in Army or Air Force versions. So the problem is that when you have to park the helicopter into a Navy hangar, you have to make everything fit that size. On the other hand, for the Air Force and the Army, we need very big sized rotors, etc., for the efficiency we target. So it is impossible for anyone to make a helicopter which will be ideal for high altitude operation as well as ideal for sea level operations of the Navy. So that's why we have proposed to Navy that we will make a dedicated naval variant separately, provided a separate sanction is given. But this helicopter, what we are making, will primarily serve the Air Force and the Army, but it will also have capability to land and take off from the ship. So certain ship-borne operations, like some attack they want to do away from the ship, on the shore base, that kind of attacks, etc., can be done even with this helicopter.
So,
but certain Navy specific missions like anti-submarine capability, etc., will not be part of this as of today.
So how do you fit in the design specifications? Do they come, the demand comes from the buyer, which will be the armed forces, or does it come from design laboratories?
The requirements primarily come from the Air Force and the Army. In this case, the medium lift helicopter is basically handled by the Air Force as the primary agency. That means they are the custodians of the helicopters. Army just uses it, based on some understanding with the Air Force. So the requirements originate from the Air Force. Of course, they are discussed with the Army also. But in addition, we are also now comparing with the other helicopters available in the world. Okay. We are borrowing the good features from those helicopters also, so that we meet or exceed the expectations of the Indian forces.
And what is the market for the future? Are we exporting? Are we capable of it? Is there a...
The export potential is enormous. Like maybe more than 25,000 such helicopters are in operation, and over a period of time all of them will be phased out. So there is a huge market, and we are directly competing with at least 4 foreign helicopters. But we have compared our design with those helicopters so that we are competent when the product is ready. We are competent to be in the global competition, not only for the Indian Defence Forces.
So Mr. T. Shyamnath, thanks very much for talking to us.
Thank you, my pleasure.
We talk about defense research and development. We are also concerned about, whether youngsters are involved with this profession. How attracted are they to this cutting edge technology, and whether, they see a future for themselves in it. So we are quite happy to have with us a young scientist from the DRDO, Vijay Raghav, who is working with the AMCA, and he's going to tell us a little bit about this aircraft. This is a stealth plane, Vijay?
It is
So
a
tell
stealth
us-
plane,
Okay.
which is having stealth values compatible with other aircrafts. So in turn, it is one of the precious projects of India in future, and it is going to be the jewel in Indian Armed Forces.
Okay,
It
so-
is need of the art projects in Indian defense industry.
So as a youngster, why were you drawn into this profession?
As I was discussing you informally altogether, so what is my thing is I was into private industry for a couple of years, and I was not liking at all the work and all. So I'm very much interested in defense industry sector. So I came to know about the vacancies through RAC. There is a RAC which conducts the interview and the exams for young scientists. So through that I came and joined in ADA DRDO.
Okay. And specifically with aeronautical engineering, and the kind of the battlefield of the future, are you interested in all this, in space and in the warfare that's going to be Star Wars and all that?
Yes, definitely. As you questioned correctly, so Indian industry is moving fourfolds into the technologies which the India is needed in the coming future to not only the war space, but actually peace is the best among to development. So even space technology, as you correctly mentioned, space technology is also needed at the hour, because through space only you can know about the weather technology, and you can inform farmers and all. Through that you can yield the crop, you can increase the crop performances and all. So these are the technologies India is definitely needed in a near future.
Indeed. So let's come back to this AMCA. What does AMCA stand for, first of all?
AMCA stands for Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft. The medium, in turn, it refers to the weight of the aircraft. So it is advanced in very technology, and it is a combat aircraft.
And what is the kind of mission performance that it has so far?
Mission performances are stealth aircraft, which is go for stealth missions, and as well as close combat missions. Also, it is capable of doing so.
And in stealth, how does it compare with the competition? Especially
It is very
from
much
the enemies.
it is very much compatible with other aircrafts. It is one of the superior in air warfare.
Okay. Does stealth in any way compromise on the performance of the airplane?
No, absolutely not. We are doing a balanced design. We have in brochure also that balanced design is a part of aircraft.
So stealth, as I understand it, is a evolving technology, and we've seen all these things in the past that they are capable of avoiding the radar, but it's always, it's like the radar also developed to try and catch stealth. So what is the
Definitely yes. The AMCA team and DRDO team is closely working to reduce the detection range of the enemy radars. So we will make the airplane so stealthy that it will in turn reduces the capability of detecting by enemy radars.
Okay. When we look at a stealth aircraft, does it Is it a multi-role aircraft?
It is a multi-role aircraft.
So, and how close can it come in contact in combat? Because we know that in combat, when it's stealth, I mean, you can actually basically go enter into enemy territory without being noticed.
So in stealth, basically you need not to go to enemy territory, but from your territory only you can attack in the warfare. And when it comes to close combat, it has the capability of close combat also. So in turn, it is capable of, it can survive in warfare and it can survive in stealth mode as well. So it has the capability of all the missions possible. And DRDO team and ADA team is closely developing these technologies for the future need of Indian Air Force.
So you talked about the future. When we talk about the future of missiles, and those also being designed by DRDO, can this kind of an aircraft, is it going to be able to carry that kind of payload?
Exactly. There is a synergy between all the DRDO labs. So in turn, we are developing these technologies which suits one other needs, and if we are designing, they will design the missiles. If they are designing the missiles and giving us, we are accommodating them in synergy. In parlance, we have a technology development between all other labs, and so that we can develop a good aircraft.
So we've already developed the LCA, and it's already been inducted into the Air Force. Are we looking at a future where we are going to have aircraft which are indigenously produced entirely, rather than
as you can see, recently in news there is 83 LCA aircraft has been ordered by Indian Air Force, and similar way we are going to induct all the indigenously developed aircrafts into the Indian Air Force. That is,
they are meeting the military grade requirements of the armed forces.
Absolutely, that is why they are being inducted.
Yes.
And future programs also we are developing in tandem with the military requirements, and even Indian Air Force are closely working with us. They are giving everyday in and out outputs. So we are closely working with them, so that we wanted to have a machine which enables India to put on some of the greatest advancement in defense technology in the world.
Vijay Raghav, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you so much.
So we are very much focused on Atmanirbharta, and obviously you'll be playing a significant role. DRDO is the key laboratory for that. Now we have the LCA Mk2 Mark II. Then we have also the AMCA, as you were talking. These aircrafts are the aircrafts which are of the near future, isn't it? How they been what's their development stage right now?
Firstly, DRDO works for Atmanirbharta of this country. Atmanirbharta, when Honorable Prime Minister has given this call, which is the greatest call to this nation as far as science and technology is concerned, meaning is that you should have the design capability, you should have the development capability, and also you should have the manufacturing and production capability in the country. So that means you should have the design know-how and know-why with you. That is the knowledge base you should have. See, over about 3 decades in the development of LCA Mark I, we have actually created the ecosystem in the country, created the knowledge base in the country. There are so many work centers, so many R&D organizations, so many academic institutes, so many professors, everyone has worked who has contributed. This is what is called knowledge base and ecosystem. Having got developed over the 3 decades from almost like zero, today we have so many industries working with us. And now when I have to develop LCA Mark II, it is not like earlier what we have developed LCA Mark I. You have the knowledge base, so the cycle becomes very fast. You have the maturity, you have the capability, you have the testing tools, you have the infrastructure, and there is an industry which you want, I want this item, who will develop it fast and give it to you.
In a large number of items, we actually produce better than the best in the world. There are, however, some items on which we still may not have everything, and that's just fine. I mean, if a small fraction of it is coming from outside, that's fine. But what is important is today we have the capability. We have notified 101 items where we are confident, the forces, the armed forces are confident that what is being produced in India is better than anywhere in the world or as good as anywhere in the world. And this list is continuously evolving, and we will see more items added to the list.
Indeed, sir. When we're talking about evolving, the entire defense security space is evolving, and we now see that there's a lot of influence from artificial intelligence, on also from in the UAV space. There's satellites involved, so the realm has changed in a sense. How does Atmanirbhar Bharat fit into this, let's say, this changed environment?
You know, I think this is our strength. You know, Friedman mentioned once that Earth is flat. In innovation today, we are seeing it, and especially because the role of digital technologies, you mentioned artificial intelligence, IoT, software itself, analytics, data, is increasing tremendously. It's happening across all domains of life and defense also. Today, these are the most important determinants of a weapon or a platform's capabilities.